The NBA draft is this week, and we also meet the Hornets' new head coach, Charles Lee, this week. He is getting into town just in time. We'll see what Jeff Peterson's got cooking for him over with the Charlotte Hornets. Joining me now is Locked On Hornets co-host Walker Mehl. Walker, I guess just what jumps out to you about the timing? Obviously, they had to wait for Charles Lee to finish the Celtics run. They win the NBA title last week. Not sure he was part of the Miami party contingent, but he is here in Charlotte, and we're going to get to meet him on Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, the timing is good because that means you have a head coach that has 2 title runs now under his belt. He won a championship with Milwaukee, and now here he is winning a championship with Boston. I think it's totally fine. I know some people wanted him in the building as soon as possible. Sure, that makes sense. It's also nice for him to have as much high stakes experienced basketball as you can possibly get for a head coach. And that's what I love about what Charles Lee has been able to endure at a couple of different spots now. Love the hire. Can't wait to see what his vision is going to be with this team. And if we can have any kind of success that he's had here in Charlotte, like he's had in Milwaukee, even Atlanta, when they won 60 games with him on staff with Mike Budenholzer, then we're going to be excited because we know that the Hornets, they have not experienced playoff success in quite some time. I'm hoping Charles Lee can bring that to the table.
The Hornets, of course, own the rights to the 6th overall selection in the first round. So the obvious question is, how much do you expect them to pick at number 6?
I think they are going to select there. We've seen some rumors that they are actually looking to move up to number 3. And that makes sense, too, because the Houston Rockets this entire time, they've been reportedly wanting to move out of number 3 for a piece that can help them win now. You look at Houston, that was a squad that was just on the outside looking in, didn't get into the playoffs, but it does feel like they're one veteran, somebody that can help them away to maybe even compete for like a top 6 spot and avoid the play-in altogether. It's a tough Western Conference, but either way, there is some room there for the Hornets to move up, especially if you're looking to do a sign and trade with Miles Bridges. That feels like a perfect guy that might not come back to the Hornets, but is also valuable to other teams, right? That's a real asset if you can get something in return for a sign and trade. So you sign Miles Bridges, trade him to Houston, you get number 3 in return, salary filler just to make the trade go through. And then it looks like they could select Reed Shepherd with that spot, Nick. I mean, that's who it feels like they'd want the most if they were to trade up. If not, Stephon Castle and Dalton Connect are the guys that have been the most linked to Charlotte if they stay home at number 6 and make that pick. I would be in favor of not giving up assets to go up to number 3, especially in a finicky draft. But I do ultimately think if I were to bet on it, that you can always just take the default that the team, wherever they are, they'll just go ahead and make the pick there at number 6 in the Hornets case.
All right, well explained on what it would take to move up, particularly to number 3. What if the Hornets want to trade back out of 6? Do you envision that being a scenario, and what would they be looking for?
You know, we haven't heard about that as much, which I'm surprised about, but what would it take for them? I'm not sure if they would be interested in moving down to maybe Devin Carter levels. I wonder if Devin Carter is somebody that more Hornets fans and NBA draft Twitter likes more than maybe the actual NBA teams. Devin Carter, the point guard out of Providence, good defensively and shot pretty well, just a little bit of a smaller player. Or some of the G League bets. Would you want to move down and bet on a Ron Holland who doesn't have a strong shooting stroke right now? Maybe you trade down to get into Cody Williams territory. Yeah, that's a possibility. And I honestly thought a real possibility, but we just never heard any interest out of the Hornets camp to move down, Nick. Like I actually haven't heard anything on that front. And I was surprised to see that. No, in fact, if anything, they're looking to move up in this draft. So yeah, it would be surprising given what we've heard so far leading up to the selection process to where ultimately, again, I just have to imagine that they're just going to stay home at 6 and make the pick.
Of course, this is Executive Vice President of Basketball Ops, Jeff Peterson's first draft with the Charlotte Hornets. But say Walker Mehl supersedes Jeff Peterson, whether they pick at 6, 3, wherever. Like if you could pick the next Hornet in this draft, who would you really want it to be?
You're asking for my big board is what you want.
I just want the very top
of it. Reed Shepherd is who I put at the top of that. I don't think he's going to be there, but in realistic situations, Reed Shepherd is at the top of it. he's one of the best shooting prospects that we've seen in quite some time. If you look at him shooting over 50% from three on 4 attempts per game, that's where you can start. But then you start to break it down into some of the advanced metrics: movement shooting, coming off of screens, off the dribble, pick and roll. What you've seen from Reed is a really impressive trait of just being able to knock down shots, no matter what type of 3-point shot that you're asking of him. The problem is he's a small player, and the wingspan doesn't help you out all that much either. He's under 6'2", and the wingspan is also under 6'2". So are you comfortable taking a smaller player, even though he can shoot extremely well and maybe be a defensive liability? Those are some of the strengths and weaknesses that you're trying to balance out. I actually don't think he's a minus defensively for how small he is. I think he is pretty solidly built. I think he moves his feet well enough to where he's an average to even plus defender. You just have some sort of limitation when you're only 6'2", right? So that's kind of the thing that you're worried about. Reed Sheppard, I like a lot. Man, Stephon Castle is right there for his defensive ability. Like, the thing for him is that he can come in and fit really well defensively, being able to guard possibly the offense's best player on the other side. And I think he's a good cutter offensively, even though we worried about his shot. He didn't shoot very well from three. But Reed Sheppard, number 1, Stephon Castle, number 2, and then you would have to go to a different tier before we got to some other prospects I like.
All right, who knows? Jeff Peterson may pick the same person at 6 that Mitch Kupchak would have, but like, big picture, what could this draft tell us about the direction Jeff Peterson and Charles Lee want to go in and what they value?
I think it'll be interesting to see the pick that comes in and whether that screams win now or we're building for the long run. So if you were to bring in somebody, I mentioned a Ron Holland, like some of the guys that are pretty clear projects, then it would be pretty clear to me that the Hornets are making the long play. They're not looking to win right now, per se. They want to draft the prospect that it might take a couple of years worth time to cook, but once they do, you're going to have a really tasty meal. Is that the case with a Ron Holland or somebody else? Maybe. If they go with Reed Sheppard, you could still be looking for the long play, but also that would bring in a new age way of thinking. Remember, they hired Patrick Harrell, who is one of the better advanced metrics analytics minds that did a lot of work with the league. And Patrick Harrell is now with the Hornets organization. So are they looking more towards the advanced stats, the shooting mattering so much? What's their true shooting look like? What are they doing as far as finishing at the rim? You know, Reed Sheppard checks a lot of those boxes off offensively, and even Castle defensively. So I think what I'm looking to see answered here, Nick, is the long-term versus short-term play. And are we ushering in a new age way of thinking compared to what the other regime might do?
All right, Walker Mehl at the top of our board, as always. I mean, just look at the wingspan. I mean, if you want to get down to it, right?
It's not bad. Like, it can't even fit in the frame.
Not even in frame. All right, Walker, thanks, and enjoy your work on Locked On Hornets. Everybody can find him there.